Sati Meditation, a way to enhance self-awareness by Luangpor Khamkhian Suwanno, narrated by Usawadi Sintusen. In Buddhism, we believe all of us are friends even though we have just met. We have been friends since our birth into this world. Friend has a broad meaning. All of us are friends because we are sentient beings. We all share the cyclic existence. All of us share birth, decay, aging, and finally, death as human beings. That is why we are all friends. Another thing that we have in common is that each of us has body and mind. Each of us has common characteristics. We all have 6 senses. We all have feelings. We all have emotions. And all of our mental activities and our physical bodies are subject to the same characteristics: impermanence, suffering, and no real self, no permanent self. These are the 3 common characteristics that all of us share. But there is something that makes us different from each other. That is our mental formations. We have different ideas. We have different opinions. We respond to our surroundings in different ways. It is our mental formations that make us different from each other. Although there are various kinds of people, we can be the same if we have mindfulness. If mindfulness prevails in our lives, we will be the same. But it will be different if unawareness or unmindfulness prevail, because they make us behave differently and perversely. I would like to take this opportunity to share my experience of how to be one with Dharma, to apply and integrate Dharma, or the truth, into our lives. 3 years ago, when I first came to teach here in America, a Western student asked me, "What brings you here? What do you know? What knowledge do you bring with you?" I replied that the only knowledge I have is knowledge of myself. I just know myself. So he asked, "What do you mean by knowing yourself?" Instead of giving him the answer, I demonstrated by turning my hand on my thigh and resting it there. Then I asked, "Have you ever been aware of yourself while you rest your hand continuously for 7 days? Have you ever had that experience of knowing yourself, of being aware of yourself for 7 days?" He said, "No, I cannot do that. I do not have such experience." So I persuaded him to try cultivating awareness with the practice of raising the hand. We call this practice dynamic or Sati Meditation. Later, he had a glimpse of awareness, of knowing himself. After practicing like this for 1 or 2 hours, the Western student came to see me and shook my hand, saying, "Oh, you are the one that I have been longing to find for many years." Knowing yourself is necessary because if you do not know yourself, you'll be overcome by grief, selfishness, anxiety, ill will, and irritation. But once you are aware of yourself, you'll be free from these sufferings. What we should learn and cultivate is the experience or state of mind that can liberate us from suffering, so that we can live without suffering. This is what I try to learn. I do not know how to make money or how to increase my pride. I do not search for honor or seek admiration. What I try to learn is the way out of suffering. The experience I mentioned is what we call Dharma, or the truth. This is the truth that frees us from pain or affliction. It is Dharma that leads us to enlightenment, to be totally awakened. The truth, or Dharma, is what makes one a Buddha. It is an experience can be shared not only by monks, but by everyone. This insight into nature brings us all into the oneness, to be the same. What I tell you is not speculation, but from experience developed by following the path of the Buddha. It is what the Buddha has already said. It is the outcome of the practice that the Buddha developed, the 4 foundations of mindfulness. That is, to be mindful of body, of feelings, of mental formations, thoughts, or emotions, and of all existence in nature. Questions and answers. Can people who have jobs that require a lot of concentration, such as scientists, maintain awareness while concentrating on what they are doing? Answer. It is possible to have both concentration at work and awareness of what we are doing. In fact, concentration and awareness should go together. You cannot concentrate if you are not aware of your thoughts or of distractions. Once we are mindful, once we are aware of the distractions, we can concentrate because we are able to remove the distractions. Not only does mindfulness help us to concentrate on what we are doing, it also helps us to use our intelligence more effectively. Mindfulness is like the master who tells how to use our intelligence properly. If you do not have mindfulness, or if your mindfulness is very weak, it is not easy to use the intelligence and information that you already have in a beneficial way. Mindfulness is like the software that tells us how to retrieve the information for this purpose. In Thailand, we compare mindfulness to the captain who controls and guides the ship, or in other words, the intelligence. The way the captain controls the engine is the same way that mindfulness controls the intelligence to make the most use of it. So the answer to your question is, mindfulness and awareness are both important. They enable us to concentrate and to use our heads or our intelligence in a beneficial way. Question. When I have a lot of problems, I seem to lose awareness of my body. Is that okay? Answer. It is normal that you cannot be aware of your body at that moment, but you still have to be aware of the thoughts in your mind. It is okay because awareness means being aware of both your mind and your body. For those who are thinking, at that moment they should be aware of their thoughts, but it is not necessary to be aware of their bodies. Question. When I am reading, I'm not aware of anything else. Is that also a form of meditation? Answer. Yes, it is a form of meditation if you hear the noises around you, but do not pay attention. If you concentrate on reading, but are aware of something strange outside, and you can turn your attention from your reading to the outside, it is a form of meditation. But if you concentrate and try to cut yourself off from your surroundings, then it is not mindfulness meditation. Question. Are mindfulness and awareness the same thing? Answer. Technically speaking, they are not the same, but they work together very closely. Mindfulness means sati in Bali. Awareness means sampachanya. But sati and sampachanya are very close. They are twins. In Thailand, we call both sati and sampachanya mindfulness. Practically, there are synonyms, but technically, they are different. Question. Can you explain the difference? Answer. Sati or mindfulness means recollection or calling to mind. Awareness means you know clearly what is going on in your body and mind. They have to be together. Once you collect your mind on some particular moment or movement, then you will have the quality of that movement and of yourself. They go together. Awareness is the consequence of mindfulness. Mindfulness and awareness are the crown or the peak of all Dharma or all teachings. If you are mindful, if we are aware of ourselves, it is not possible for us to break morality or sin. Once we are mindful, we are free from distraction, and then concentration arises. This is samadhi. With awareness, our minds become clear. With such clarity, insight will arise. This is panya. These three are the totality of Buddhist teaching. We call it the threefold training. Training in higher morality, in higher concentration, and in higher wisdom. That is why mindfulness and awareness are called the ground of the Buddha's teachings. It is the teaching as a whole. With mindfulness and awareness, samatha and vipassana are possible. Samatha means calmness, meditation. Vipassana means insight meditation. These two types of meditation are possible with mindfulness and awareness. Question. The atmosphere at Chuang Yen now was so dynamic. Going from one thing to another, acquiring one thing and then another. It is desire, get, achieve. I found I was more centered when I reached home than I was at the monastery. I came to Chuang Yen 2 years ago. There was only the lake and the little pagoda, but no statues. But today, I find many things that have not been here before. I am having a hard time placing myself in peace. Can you please share your comment on this? Answer. There are 4 aspects of Buddhism. The first is the teaching or state of mind that can be realized through the practice. Second is the tradition, customs, conventions, or rituals. Third is the material aspects, like buildings, temples, halls, etc. The fourth aspect is the personnel, monks, nuns, lay persons. I try to emphasize the first aspect of Buddhism. That is the teaching or the experience that can be realized through the teaching. We should concentrate on this aspect. Do not pay much attention to the rest, the rituals, the buildings, or the personnel. If we focus on the teachings and the experience that can be developed from the practice, we will realize ourselves. So, I suggest you do not pay too much attention to the other three aspects, or they will disturb your mind. It also happens in Thailand. There is much contradiction between teaching and practice, between the teachings and the monks themselves. Sometimes monks behave themselves badly, but this doesn't mean that you should ignore Dharma, the teachings. We have to separate the teachings and the personnel, the buildings and the rituals. Sometimes the rituals contradict the teachings. Sometimes monks are self-centered, practicing meditation without concern for the world. If we engage ourselves in these kinds of arguments, we will not find peace. So just keep practicing and try to put the teachings into practice. This does not mean that if one individual practices properly, the rest will follow. No, I always suggest that we start with ourselves. If we expect other people to start, if we expect other people will start first without beginning with ourselves, then nothing will happen. Let us start with ourselves and then pay attention to the rest. I would like to share my experiences when I was a young monk, just a beginner, starting to practice Sati Meditation 30 years ago. The other monks, my friends, were not serious about the practice. They preferred chatting all the time, and many monks tried to engage me in their conversation. Many things around me were quite irritating, quite annoying. But I decided that I would not pay attention to my surroundings. I behaved myself properly and paid attention only to myself. If I engage with my surroundings, with my fellow monks, I will not progress in the practice. So I just tried to concentrate on myself and ignore whatever was happening in the monastery. I started with myself first to make progress. Actually, the most important hindrance is internal disturbances, not external ones. Previously, prior to coming to practice this method of meditation, I had practiced calmness meditation. Using my breath as the object of meditation to bring me calmness, a kind of trance and absorption. When I started practicing Sati meditation 30 years ago, I doubted this method because it never gave me calmness. I wasn't sure whether I should pursue this method or not. There was a kind of irritation, annoyance, and uncertainty in my mind, which kept me from practicing Sati meditation earnestly, and this hindrance was more serious than any external annoyance. But once I made up my mind that I would practice Sati meditation without questioning, without reasoning, just experiencing directly with mindfulness, I felt that progress in the meditation had been made. So I would like to suggest you be aware of and concerned with the internal hindrances that are more irritating than the external disturbances. Just prepare and be determined to overcome all obstacles that you might face during the practice. Question: You talked about the internal disturbances. Could you please tell the nature of them and how to control them? Can we be without any thoughts for a minute or even a second? Thoughts are what cause internal disturbances. How can you control them? Answer: Try to be mindful. Try to be alert and awake. Don't follow or be carried away by our internal disturbances. For example, if you feel sleepy or drowsy, do not follow the drowsiness or be carried away by drowsiness. Stand up or rinse your face with water. Create and invent a method that will enable you to be alert and awake. For instance, when you are sleepy, visualize the illumination of the sky, picturing a radiant sky. This will enable you to awake from drowsiness. Drowsiness is the first hindrance, or nivarana in Bali. Nivarana means hindrances that keep you from progressing in the path of enlightenment. Besides drowsiness, there are also irritation, restlessness, sensual desire, and ill will. These are the 5 hindrances that disturb you, and you should be prepared to deal with them. But first of all, you should realize that you are able to put an end to the hindrances. They will not haunt you permanently. With this hope, you can encourage yourself not to fall under their control. These unwholesome qualities can be transformed, be it irritation, drowsiness, restlessness, and annoyance. All this can be transformed by mindfulness. Drowsiness can be transformed into awakening. Laziness can be transformed into diligence. And irritation can be transformed into peace. It is in our capacity to do that. But if you are skillful and learn how to encounter these unwholesome qualities with mindfulness, you will realize that all of these disturbing qualities can bring us wisdom. They can be our teachers. Drowsiness can teach us to be more intelligent. Irritation can teach us to be wiser. This can be accomplished by cultivating mindfulness. Question: why do you call it Sati Meditation? Answer: there are 2 kinds of meditation. Calmness meditation is one, but there is another kind of meditation that asks us to pay attention to awareness. What I teach is to encourage one to pay attention to the awareness of the body movements. Taking body movements as the object of meditation to train one to be mindful, to pay attention or to be aware of whatever movement you are making. Whether you are standing or walking, you should pay attention and be mindful of the present movement. This is called Sati Meditation because it uses the body movements as the object of meditation. We do not sit in stillness, but create body postures as the object of meditation. Driving can be a form of meditation. Reading is also a form of meditation if you read properly. Sewing is too, as when I try to sew my robe for 9 days. Meditation is to pay attention to one thing with full awareness. Meditation is not necessarily closing your eyes and crossing your legs. Last question. You said mental awareness of body movements was very important. What if you are aware of something around you? Answer: in this practice, we are aware of our body movements. This is the main posture, the main activity. But we are also aware of other things, either in our minds or outside in our surroundings. For example, when I'm practicing, if a friend comes to ask for a needle to sew his clothes, I'm ready to give him the needle, while still keeping with the practice without talking to him. I just stand up and find the needle for him. After giving him the needle, I return to my practice. It means that I am ready to respond or to be aware of anything that occurs to me, internally or externally. I do not cut myself off from my surroundings, but I'm ready to hear the noises. If there is nothing special, I just pay attention to my body movements.